with that, we're going to get started. So let's talk about these human alien underground bases. As we normally do, we always go back to the beginning. I know there's a lot of crazy stuff online and whatever, where people talking about all this crazy stuff and talking about closed down Walmarts and all this stuff. We're not going on any of that. We're talking about the real stuff. We're not talking crazy. You know, we never talk crazy on this show. We talked about real stuff. We have documentation. We're talking very scary. Okay, so we're talking human alien underground bases. As we normally do, we're going back to the beginning. The beginning is Roswell. Okay. In Roswell, we had that crash. Remember, in 1947, we had that crash. Okay. And when they had that crash in Roswell, New Mexico, that we discussed in a previous show, if you missed that show, you can always go through the archives, which is the easiest way is just go to YouTube and type in my name, and the videos will come up there, and you'll be able to see it there. But when we had the crash in Roswell, there was bodies, there was wreckage, there was everything. They flew everything to Dayton, Ohio. Wright Field. We're going to be talking about that, because that's where everything was stored for the next decade or two. Anything that was alien, anything was strange, was flew to Dayton, Ohio. Now, today it's called Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it was stored in a special place on the base, the famous Hangar 18. And Hangar 18 is a very mysterious place, because Hangar 18 is where you had all the strange stuff that's happening. And this is where the legend came from, because Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, for those who don't know, I was born a few miles away from that base. A lot of strange activity. But most of that base, now back in the 60s, that's where Strategic Air Command used to be. You had nuclear missiles there. When I was a kid, you had B-52 bombers flying over my head. It was a very scary place. Okay, but anyone who worked on that base, which thousands of people do, will tell you most of the buildings are underground. Okay, and this base goes several levels below the ground. Who knows what they're doing there? You really don't want to know. But they have something called the Foreign Technology Division, which is located there. And this is where they work on foreign stuff. If it's Russian, if it's Chinese, if it's alien, if it's reptilian, whatever, it goes over there. And this is where everything was stored. And there was lots of legends told about Hangar 18, and people wanted to see inside of this secret underground hangar where they were storing all of this stuff. And they had these giant tubes that had dead aliens in them and all kind of stuff. And since we're talking about this, I'm going to tell you a story, since we can bag it up, and you can look this up. There was a movie star in the 50s that was very big. He was the biggest movie star back in the 50s. He was Jackie Gleason. He was really big into UFOs. And he heard about this Hangar 18, and he was good friends with our president at the time, which was Nixon. Nixon and him was very good friends. So what he did, so he wanted to see, he found out through all of his contact, Jackie Gleason's, that there was aliens and bodies on the base in Dayton, Ohio. He wanted to see the aliens and the bodies. And he was calling all of his friends in Washington. He was calling all of his friends at the Pentagon. He was calling around everybody to want to know, how do you see the aliens in Dayton, Ohio at the Air Force Base? Until he received a phone call from J. Edgar Hoover. And he told people later, you can look this up, Jackie Gleason was told that if he didn't quit making all these phone calls and causing trouble, that he was going to have a little accident and they would never find his body. And after that, he decided to leave that subject alone. And this is how the UFO thing have always been treated. You don't go there. Okay. That goes for me, you, movie stars. We even had another president called, remember, Carter. Jimmy Carter said, if I became president, the first thing I would do is look into UFOs. And he was elected president, and he said, he asked, are there UFOs? And they told him they wouldn't answer his question. Even the president can't even get straight answers about this subject. And Jimmy Carter to this day will not talk about this conversation. Okay. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder who called him up on the phone. Okay. So this is just a lot of things that was going on. But back then, up in the 60s and 70s, everything was located at Dayton, Ohio, at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And then they moved everything to the desert. No one knew where the desert was. Okay. But they moved everything out to the desert. We know today what the desert is. It's called Area 51. That's where everything was moved. Are we doing good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So remember, it's her birthday. You're supposed to be sending her birthday wishes today. But other than that, we're doing good. So, so they sent everything to the desert. And that base is still strange today. You still have reports of all kind of weird and strange things over there in Dayton, Ohio going on. But everything was moved to the desert. So we covered that. And now, so let's go out to the desert since we're moving. We're going forward. They moved everything out to the desert. No more Hangar 18. But people that work on Area 51, even till today, will keep telling you, there is no aliens on Area 51. They're lying and telling you the truth at the same time. And this is something we didn't know about until our friend, remember, we had this crazy guy in the late 70s talking crazy, Bob Lazar, talking crazy, and he told us about another base that we didn't know about. Even Bob Lazar said he wasn't working at Area 51. Most of the work was done at a base called S4, which is around 20 miles away from Area 51. It's a totally separate base. And S4 is where you have the hangars that is built into the mountainside. And S4 is where you have all the strange stuff and the wrecked craft. So when they tell you there's nothing at Area 51, they're telling you the truth. It's 20 miles away at S4. Okay. And that is true. That is where they keep all the weird stuff. So we're moving on, and we're first we're covering what we know about, and then we're going to go deeper and deeper. And as we get deeper and deeper, it gets scarier and scarier. Because the government, ever since World War II, even starting in World War II, this started, we didn't realize how much of a problem this was until we had something that happened in England, where you had the Blitzkrieg, where the Germans just bombed the hell out of London. They just bombed everything in 1940, 1941. And England put everything underground. And we was thinking, maybe we need to do that too. We had the Japanese, and maybe we need to start putting things underground. And that was the first of the projects of maybe we need to start putting underground. But we didn't really have the technology at the time to go deep, deep, deep underground. Okay. But we knew there was a need. And then when nuclear bombs came along, we knew there was definitely a need to put things on the surface. Because on the surface, when bombs go off, you get a big kaboom and everything gets destroyed. But underneath that, things are survivable. We're doing good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So this is where we started building, and a new word came along. I'm going to give you a term. You can look it up. It's called deep underground military bases, which is called dumps. Okay, this is what the military have. They have these dumps, and today, first they was just a few hundred feet underground. Now we have dumps that are thousands of feet underground. And we got everything stored underground. Today we have enough of a capacity to put thousands of troops. They got thousands of everything. We have our strategic oil reserves stored underground. Everything is underground. Now, we don't know where a lot of these military underground installations are, but not only the military has these underground installations in case something goes kaboom. What you don't know, and most people don't know, is that most big corporations have all of their information stored underground, all of their computer systems, all of their stuff in case there's a big kaboom. You can't destroy their secret Coca-Cola formulas and things like that. That is all kept underground. And the computer that runs the internet is in a secret location underground. Everything is stored underground. The only thing that's not stored underground, before we go there, let's talk about what's going on in Europe. Okay. In Europe, you know, they're socialists over there. We're free. We have this democracy. Okay. But in Europe, they have that socialism. So in Europe, they're worried about things could go kaboom. So in places like in Scandinavia and Finland and over there, they got places in the mountains where in case World War III was to break out, their entire population can go underground in the mountains. Okay. You have the underground in London where the entire population of London can go underground. You have in Russia, you have the Russian subway system is designed as a bomb shelter. It can hold 1 million people underground. In China, the Chinese government have places in Beijing where they can put 100,000 people underground. Okay. Hundreds of thousands. Most countries in Europe have places like this. Where is the places in America for the people who are the land of the free, home of the brave? We don't have no bomb out shelters. We don't have nothing here for us to hide. In case something goes kaboom, we're supposed to duck and cover under our desk. Okay, we don't have no bomb shelters. We don't have nothing. How come in those socialist countries they got places for their people to hide? And here we only have places for the military, for the corporations, and for the rich. And since we're talking rich people, let's talk about what's going on in Death Valley. In Death Valley, they have these $1 million shelter, underground bunkers for millionaires, where millionaires in some of these secret societies have bunkers for their members. These things are massive and beautiful. They got swimming pools and underground areas where they can grow food. They got everything. What do we have? I guess they're not worried if we make it or not. And let's talk about one of the biggest groups of these underground people that got everything. Let's talk about our friends, the Mormons. The Mormons in Utah have enough. They have millions and millions of tons of everything stored underground in the Salt Lake. In their vaults down there. Enough for all of their members to survive indefinitely underground. Okay. If you're not a Mormon, I guess they're not going to let you in. Okay. You get what I'm saying? But I don't know where the Catholic Church have a place. I don't know where the Baptists or the Methodists or these other religious groups, where are their underground installations at? Okay. Where's the installation for Lynn Livsey? I don't know where that is located. Maybe they don't care if we make it or not, as long as they make it. So let's talk about what's in some of these underground installations. Some of these military installations, some of these dumps are so huge. We have not only tanks and supplies and everything, we even have naval ships stored underground. We have nuclear submarines stored underground. We have everything imaginable stored underground in case this country gets destroyed and they have to remake it. Everything they need, minus you, is stored underground. You get what I'm saying? Because they don't need you. But everything they need, minus you, is they got underground. They got food and seeds. They got a 20-year supply of food. They got everything.
Or just the ants.
We're just the ants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we won't make it. They'll be calling up to the server and saying, is anybody still there? We hope not. Okay. Because they want to start fresh. Okay. But these installations are massive. Mm-hmm. And you would think this first just started now. But this started a long time ago. Mm-hmm. You know, let me show you something. And we're going to show you two pictures. See, when you're going underground, you would think building underground would be the U.S., the Army. But you sail underground. So all underground drilling is done by the U.S. Air Force. Because this is how they trick you. Because when you're underground, you would think the Army or the Marines would be over that. It's the Air Force. When you see UFOs in the air, you think the Air Force would be over that. But UFOs are covered by the Navy Department. See, they do this little game to confuse you. So when you call the Air Force and say, I've seen something, they say, oh, we're not into that. Because the Air Force don't cover UFOs. The Navy does. Okay. You didn't know that, though. And the size of some of these, they have something called nuclear boring machines. These things are not new. The patent came out in 1972. And they've been building these things since the late 70s. Look how massive some of these nuclear boring machines are. This is why when you get out in the desert and places, people all over the world be hearing this low humming sound from underneath the ground. They're doing everything that you don't need to know about. Mm-hmm. Okay. They're doing everything. And they are doing this stuff because they know that something is coming. They know, and what are they doing with all this underground installations? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about the civilian ones first. And then we'll talk about what the military doing. Let's talk about what the corporations are doing.
Right. Can I say something? Right?
Yes, we have a question.
Yeah, it's something that we've talked about. It says, has anyone seen the interviews with the truck drivers who have been delivering into the underground tunnels?
Oh, yes. That's what we're getting ready to talk about right now. Yeah. Because there's this state called Missouri. Missouri has more underground facilities than any other state. And they got there is so much stuff in Missouri. This is where a lot of these big corporations store all of their legal documents, all their stuff. Some of these underground vaults in Missouri are massive. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's truck drivers, not only in Missouri and other places, that will tell you that they have driven for hours underground. Okay. What are they doing down there? And how come we don't know about any of this stuff?
Someone says, why Missouri? I don't know.
I don't know why Missouri. But it's not only Missouri. They're doing it a lot in Missouri. They're doing it a lot in Utah. In what they call the Ozark is where the newest, this is where the new one is built. Outside of Branson, they just built this giant underground vault facility. Mm-hmm. This is for the corporations. This is not for the government. This is for the corporations. Okay. And the corporations have all kind of stuff buried underground and stored underground. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, that is just what the corporations are doing. The military, oh my gosh, you don't even, then you're biting your nails when you get into what the military is doing underground. The military has entire complexes underground, not only like Cheyenne Mountain and these other places. They have all kind of facilities, entire cities underneath there. And there is rumors, for example, I tell you just how bad it is. Remember, I'm just talking crazy. But, the president is, he's in the White House in Washington, D.C. The congressmen, they're in Congress over there, all those buildings. From the Capitol buildings to Andrews Air Force Base. If there's an emergency, they can do an evacuation within a matter of minutes and get everybody out of the Capitol and out of those government buildings. Okay. Now, while you're stuck on that traffic jam on the surface, they're zooming underground, darling. Okay. Mm-hmm. And not only that, there's been rumors for years where there's tunnels between, Area 51 and what's going on at like Los Alamos Laboratories. You got tunnels. Some of these tunnels are hundreds of miles long. You have the Skunk Works in California where they make all their secret jets and everything and all this secret stuff. But they test it all the way in the desert in Nevada. How do they move that stuff? They have... Can you imagine? How can you move giant planes and rockets hundreds of miles underground? They have facilities we have no idea. The military is 50 to 75 years ahead of anything we have. It's just massive what they can do. And you don't see nothing. Okay. And they're moving everything underground. Some of this stuff is humongous inside. Okay. So, they're doing everything. But again, in case of trouble, remember, in case nuclear attack, alien attack, zombie attack, whatever, they're protected. What about the little ants on the surface running around like me and you? Who's going to protect us? Where is our bomb shelter at? Where is our 2-year supply of food and water and everything? Okay, we don't have nothing. Nada, nuca. Okay. Why is that? I don't understand. And if you think I'm talking crazy, you need to start talking to some of these truckers. And some of these truckers will tell you about they have seen things. I live on the border of Mexico. And I have talked to truckers that have told me that they have been to the other side of the border and they didn't go across the bridge. I'm not going to tell you what they told me. There's all kind of things you don't need to know about. Okay. You just don't need to know. And you're happy that way. Remember, Halloween is coming. You just need to keep laughing, buy your candy and eat it and have a good time. You don't need to know what they're doing over there. What you doing under in those underground bases? What you doing under in those... Don't worry about it. You get what I'm saying? Okay. Now, I told you we wasn't going to talk about what they're doing in these Walmarts and whatever, but we're going to talk about some of these for a second, since we're on this thing about what people are doing. And they had this crazy thing talking about that the deep state was hiding things in these underground Walmarts. Okay. The government has all kind of stuff stored in different places. And old Walmarts is nothing but a giant storage facility. And if you got things you want to store, there is no greater place. And what they're doing, this is not no government plot, but today, back in the old days, if there was a problem, you told people to go downtown. In the 70s, if there was a problem, if there was an earthquake or a tornado, you say, go to the mall and we'll give you food and water over there. Today, where do you tell people to go? Everyone knows where the Walmart is located. So if a city is going to prepare for hurricane or tornado or whatever, if there's a natural disaster, they tell you, like they did to people in California with the fires, go to the Walmart. We will help you there. We got everything for you over there. That's why they're staging things at Walmart. This is not a government plot to take over the universe or the world or whatever. But you don't have to give people directions on how to get to the Walmart. They know where the Walmart is located. And this is why when they had the fires in California, they had hundreds of tents in the parking lot of the Walmart. Okay. They didn't have to tell the people where to go, how to get there. You say, go to Walmart. Oh, I know where that is. For some reason, we always know where Walmart is. I don't know why, but we always seem to know where the Walmart is. Any questions? Or are we doing good?
No, people are just making comments.
Okay.
About tunnels underground.
Oh, they're everything.
A lot of them in the Rio Grande Valley.
Right. And you can talk about, not only to truck drivers, talk to some of these people with that, these veterans. Get them in a conversation. They will blow your mind. They have seen all kind of stuff. But it's not for them. They just help move it and do things for someone else. Okay. Because as soon as they tuck off that uniform, they're an ant on top of the surface, just like the rest of us. So, you might be asking, what does it have to do with aliens? Because we're going deeper. We got to start at the beginning, and we're going deeper. So, first, we still haven't got to the deep part yet. So we got all these tunnel systems all over the world and all this stuff. And how can they move people hundreds of miles? So, let me tell you something else you don't know. In Japan, they got bullet trains, and in China, they got bullet trains, and they can move so fast. And in America, we got Amtrak that's going to big, 70, 80 miles an hour. And in Europe, they're just zooming. But you don't know the government has a train system which is faster than any of those systems in Japan or China. The military has something called the Very High Speed Transit System, the VHST, which is a tube train system, which moves, some people say, over 1,000 miles an hour underground. Okay. But it's not for me and you. And the reason why we will never get in this thing, because it will run the airlines out of business instantly. So they want you to go to the airport, get there 2-3 hours early, so you can get through security, get on that plane, and then you're going to fly, 300-400 miles. Then you get what I'm saying? Now, so you're going through all of that, or you're catching the Greyhound bus or whatever, but they have a system underground for them that they're going everywhere. They're just zooming. But that's the reason somebody was asking me today about flying cars and when we're going to, and they say in the year, in the future we're going to have flying cars. They've been talking flying cars since the 60s. The reason we will never have flying cars is because the gasoline companies, how are you going to sell oil if we're flying around and got battery powered cars? They're making so much money off of us. We will never get anywhere. Okay. This is why we got to open our eyes to what is going on. And this is why, again, this show is here. Because this show, the government will keep saying, we'll tell them in another 5 years. We'll tell them in 10 more years. Let's wait until after the election. They will never tell us because they're making too much money. Okay. It's time. The game's up. We need to know about some of this stuff. And it's great that the military have it, but they've been trying to build a bullet train system between Dallas and Houston for at least the last 20, 30 years, and that thing can never seem to get off the ground because it will run all the airlines out of business. Okay. You see what I'm saying? So, if we can't even build a high-speed train between Houston and Dallas, how are we going to do anything? We're never going to do anything. So, we're going down. So we went into what the corporations are doing. We went into what the government is doing. We talked about what they're doing in Europe. But there's a strange thing that's going on with all these underground installations. Okay. Let's talk about another underground place. Let's talk about that Denver airport. Yeah. That thing goes 20, 30 stories underground too. Oh my gosh, there's all kind of weird stuff all over this country. You don't need to know nothing of what's going on. You just don't need to know. But in all these places, I don't care if you're at any of these dumps, it's the same story everywhere. Mm-hmm. As long as you stay close to the surface, everything is good. Mm-hmm. But as the more levels you go down, the stranger and stranger and stranger things seem to become. And you need special access, special codes, special elevators to get super, super deep into some of these installations. And when you get very, very deep in some of these underground installations, that's when you're not in Kansas anymore. It's like you see things that You don't know if that's human or alien. You see technology, and it's like, is that ours or is that science fiction? You start seeing weird stuff. Because I'm going to tell you a little secret. See, the aliens I told you, they're below our feet. They're inside of the hollow earth. They're coming this direction. We're going that direction. And somewhere in the middle, you get that gray zone. That's the reason when you get very deep in these military installations, things start getting kind of weird. Then you start seeing these weird things and weird beings and weird stuff. And because where do the humans stop and the aliens start? That's like a gray zone there. And in some of these super deep installations, it gets really, really scary. And we're going to talk about one of them in a minute. We got questions?
Well, Jason had made a comment earlier about that. There was a UFO over the Denver airport back in the day. Just look what happened during the Battle of Los Angeles.
Okay, there's all kind of strange stuff. So we're going to talk about one of these installations, military installations, that is very deep. And what supposedly happened there. I'm going to say supposedly because I wasn't there. So I'm just going off of some of the stuff that was written about this Livsey base on the Colorado-New Mexico border. And this is on an Indian reservation. The Indians never see nothing. They just see vehicles going in and out, strange lights, strange ventilation systems that's sticking out of the ground. Of course there's nothing down there. We all know that. But anyway. Okay. But according to some of these whistleblowers, underneath that Indian reservation, you're talking massive, massive construction. And some of this stuff is very weird. And we're going to show you some of this stuff that they say is down there. Okay. Where's that picture at? Oh. When you get super deep into some of these military installations, this is what it looks like as you get super deep. You get into super deep things. You start seeing stuff like this. You start seeing all kind of strange equipment. You start seeing all kind of weird stuff. Okay. Maybe it's the government doing testing. Maybe it's the aliens doing testing. We don't really know. Okay. Because a lot of, as I said, there's no one to really explain what is going on in these super deep installations. Okay. And when people see things, a lot of times you're sworn to secrecy. You had to go down there for a reason to pick up something, or there was a reason why you had to go down there. And you were supposed, they told you, when you go down there, you go straight to that room, you get that box, and you bring it straight here. Don't go nowhere else. Don't look at nothing. You just get that box and you come straight back. And you start asking questions. Okay. They're going to warn you. Hey, if you keep asking questions,
Yeah.
You don't want to go there. Okay. You know what they told Jackie Gleason. We already went over that. So, you got to be very careful. But there's a lot of ex-military people who have seen things, who have said they was at this base one time. And some of this stuff, like at this Livsey base, supposedly in 1979, as I said, I wasn't there. For some strange reason, a fight broke out between us and them. And they say that 57 of our people got killed and countless other aliens got killed. What was the disagreement over? Maybe they couldn't agree on, are we eating brains or are we eating hamburger? They had a disagreement. I don't understand. I don't know. I wasn't there. But there's just so much. Yes. Okay. So there is so much we don't know. And we are in, as we talked about in weeks before, we're into these swapping systems because our little friends like to give us toys to play with. And they say, hey, we'll give you this in exchange for this. And we will give you that in exchange for this. And they're giving us this 800-year-old flying craft. It's out of warranty. The propulsion system is kind of screwed up. But to us, it's the hottest thing since sliced bread. You get what I'm saying, don't you? And we're willing to sell our soul for that. And they want the right to abduct people and do this and whatever you want. Yeah, we just need that. Yeah, whatever. We don't care what you do. Okay. And this is a sucker's game. And we get suckered every day, all day long. Because they got so many toys. And we want to play with their toys. Okay.
Jason says, I believe we are getting ready for alien invasion.
Well, we're going to have the week after next, because since we're going into Halloween, every other week we're going to be talking a ghost subject or spirit subject or whatever, but we're going to go back and forth for the next several weeks. But we are going to be talking about the real fake alien invasion the week after next, because it is real, but it's fake at the same time. We're going to be discussing that.
Billy says, I think a stage invasion will happen.
Yes, or because
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's going to be real and not real. See, what they're going to do with the alien invasion is what they did with the moon landing. The moon landing was real and fake at the same time. There's a show on that, which we already did. You can look in the archives. But all this stuff is the same. Okay. We did go to the moon, and no, we didn't go at the same time. It's all good. Okay, but they keep us in a state of daze and confusion where we don't know what's going on, and they love it that way. And remember, it's not important anyway. You're supposed to be focusing on that football game on Sunday and focusing on all these important things in life. Remember, the new Samsung S10 just came out. That's more important about what we're talking about here. See, they got to keep your mind focused on all this BS so you don't advance. Okay. But some of us want to know. Some of us are ready for information. Some of us are tired of this, of being treated like we're 2 years old, 5 years old. Okay. And we need this information. So, let's talk about some other stuff that they're doing and some of these installations that they're doing. Several people who has been abducted, and this goes back for a long time, when they do their hypnosis and they do their talk about their abduction experiences, they not only talk about weird alien beings, but they talk about the humans that was walking along with them and that guy in that military suit that was with them too. There's all kind of things. Oh my gosh, we really don't need to go there. We really don't need to go there. Okay. See, we have no idea what's going on. And the line between us and them is very, very thin once you get very deep in those underground bases. What we're doing and what they're doing, and we talked about in a previous show how the little grays, how they make their babies is by stealing our eggs and sperm, and they mix it with them and they grow their next generation. We're starting to learn how to do that too. And, and maybe we won't need women 50, 100 years from now. We'll be able to just make babies on our own. You know what I'm saying, don't you? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Right? Remember, we might run out of women one day or whatever. We might get tired of them. We won't need them anymore. We'll be able to produce our own kids. Okay. She might disagree with that, but there's so much out there. It's just weird. It's just very, very weird. So, this is what is going on, and this is very, very deep. Do I have all the answers? No. The goal of this show is to open your eyes to some of the weird stuff that is going on and to let you know, and you can do your own research. I'm giving you places, I'm giving you names.